welcome to the first parent workshop from City School Sharjah. We try to do a range of different times to meet the needs of everybody at some point. Okay, so I know Saturday is difficult for some of you because it's family time. I understand that, but also most people are not working, so it gives you the opportunity to be able to attend. And so we really appreciate that. Other workshops will be happening during the school day. Sometimes we have events in the evenings. So for example, our Enquire will happen on a Thursday evening when we do it. So we try to listen to you and do things at various times to meet your needs. Okay? So today at 11, hopefully it means you still got a little bit of a lie-in this morning and then can come and be home for the afternoon to spend with your families. So we think all the time of making sure we get it right for you, because you and the communication with you is the most important thing. So, is there anybody in here who has never seen me before? You've never seen me before? Yeah. Oh, okay, welcome. Hello, I'm Christine. But most of you will have seen me at some point, whether it's a talk, whether you've just seen me around school, whether you've seen me at the gate welcoming the children, but you get to see me. I'm out and about. I try to do that as much as possible because obviously my role is to look after your children and to educate your children. So hiding away doesn't do anybody any good. So I try to be as visible as I possibly can. And it's to reassure you as parents that we are here working all the time to make sure we do the best we possibly can for you. That's all we want. So there has to be this communication happening at any time. I am more than happy for you to contact me directly about anything if you need to. But just to explain to you, if you do that, I probably will take longer to respond than if you actually contact the homeroom teacher. If you understand why that is, it's because they're with your children all day and we'll be able to respond to you straight away. You contact me, I have to go find out and then come back to you. So it's not that I don't think it's important that you have direct contact with me, it's just that sometimes I'm not the best person to have contact with because it will take me longer to actually go and find out how I can help you. Right? But my door is always open with one proviso. If you turn up at school and go, I need to see the principal, it's very unlikely I'll be able to meet you then and there. Okay? Because I do try to spend most of my time out and about in the classrooms working with the children, so if you turn up, I might not be available. The best thing for you to do is to speak to Miss Ola at reception and she'll tell you when I'm free, and then you can come in and see me and do it that way. So I can give you the right time. Because if you come in and I'm in the middle of something, I won't give you quality time. I'll be thinking about what's relevant. Alright? So I just want to do the best by you all. And that's really genuinely what we're about, all of the staff in the school. And I hope you've already recognised that from the first week of your children being at the school. Can I just have a quick show of hands or thumbs up? How were your children last week when they came home from school? Were they okay? Yeah? Yes. Especially to hear it from the actual child, it's amazing. You're okay with what we're doing. Now let me make it very clear. In the first 2 weeks, we spend our time getting to know your children. Your children will not learn unless they like us, and so we spend a lot of time building relationships. You will all receive an individual email this weekend, if you haven't received it yet, from the homeroom teacher, talking about what your child personally, what they've learned about your child this week, and what's adorable about your child. So the first 2 weeks we're baselining, we're getting to know them, and after that, the work begins. The curriculum work, making sure that we're getting the children to learn. And all the time, we're continuing to get to know your children. To find out how they learn best, by giving them quizzes and reading tests, for example, they're going to do next week, so we get a baseline of how good they are at reading, so we know what to work on. We're constantly assessing your children and the levels that they're at. All the time. We don't wait for examinations or anything like that, but I'll explain more about that in a minute. We are constantly checking. Where are your children, and what can we do to fill in any gaps that they have? Especially the new children, because we don't know what they know yet, so we've got to do our best to find out what they know, what they're yet to find out, and we will plan all our lessons and our curriculum around them, making sure that they're learning what they need to learn this year using the British curriculum. So, you don't have to be in the United Kingdom for your children to get a real proper British education. Okay? And the school does not have to look like a Hogwarts school. Okay? It can look just like this school, okay, within many, many countries around the world. Okay? It's one of our best exports, the education system, and I am lucky enough to have been trained in it so that I can work all over the world and spread the joy of the British curriculum. I'm very, very passionate about it, and I truly believe in it. The reason I think it's really, really important is because it's not a content-based curriculum. We do not spend all our time telling the children what they have to remember. We don't stand at the front of the class and take our knowledge and squish it into the children's heads so they pass exams. That's never the British curriculum way, and shouldn't be. There are many schools in the UAE that claim they're British curriculum schools because they use books that come from the British curriculum. Okay, that's not the point. The point is it's very, very different. Okay? We are using critical thinking, creativity, flexibility, leadership, collaboration, higher order thinking, because that's what they need for their careers today. They don't need to know the date at which the Fire of London started. That won't help them. So we stay away as much as we can from just putting information in their heads and try to give them the skills for them to find out things for themselves, problem solve, critical thinking. It's really important that you understand that, because we're preparing them for jobs that still today don't exist in the future. So giving them knowledge that they can Google is not going to help them in their careers. We've got to think of ways to give them the skills for future careers. Okay? And that's why the British curriculum is so useful, because we focus mainly on skills. And while you're in the classroom, you'll see us all doing manipulatives, working things out, real-world problems, not just, for example, I'm a mathematician, not just telling them a formula and how to apply the formula, but understanding why that formula works. Why is the area of a rectangle length times width? Why do they have to do the length multiplied by the width to find out how many squares fit inside a rectangle? Okay? It's not we give you the formula, you apply it. It means nothing to a child. They don't understand why they're doing it, so we explain why they do it, and then they can apply it much better. Okay? So, if you do look on the internet about reasons why the British curriculum is so beneficial to your children, these are the things that are said. This is not coming from me, because I already love it. I was just looking for things to show you what other people are saying about the British curriculum. Okay? The first thing, it is a globally recognized system. Wherever you come from your home countries, you will have already heard about the British curriculum. There will be schools in your home countries that are British curriculums. Because it is so globally recognized. And the wonderful thing about that is it's one of the most widely taught educational systems in the world. Wherever wherever you go, you can find British curriculum. And the benefit of that is we can take, we tried. One of the benefits of that is you can take the British curriculum, and when you move onto another country, even if you stay here or you move back to your home country, you're taking the British curriculum with you wherever you go, and everybody knows what it means. So you can take it from one country to another without your child's education being interrupted. So that's one of the wonderful things about the British curriculum. It is a trusted curriculum across the world. People know what it is, and they understand it, and they really value their children going to a skills-based curriculum that can be taken from one place to another. The other reason the British curriculum is so brilliant is because it focuses on breadth and depth. And what I mean by that is it's not just focusing on maths, English, and science. We try to include all the different subjects because you will know your child well enough to know that they might be amazing in art, and I want them to be able to come to the school and be recognised and be supported with benefiting and developing their art skills. Because if they're not brilliant at English, math and science, let's recognise the areas that they are brilliant and develop those areas so that they feel satisfied, they feel like they're learning, they feel like they're developing and growing as an individual. So we go into breadth and depth. We don't continue the curriculum if a child is grasping a concept. So for example, if we're looking at how to use full stops and capital letters in sentences, if the child is secure in that, we will get them to be more creative with that, the full stops and the capital letters. We won't just move on to next year's curriculum. So we get them to think at a greater depth about that particular aspect, so they become even more brilliant at that one thing. Okay? We're not just trying to get through the curriculum, we're trying to go into a lot of detail to challenge and support, especially those gifted and talented in certain areas. We don't just move on to the next tick, you've done it, move on to the next thing. We want to go into a lot more depth to make them really consider why they're learning what they're learning and applying it to different situations before we move on. So we have a variety of subjects, all the way through Key Stage 1, Key Stage 2, Key Stage 3, Key Stage 4. And I'm just going to let you know, I know most of you already know this, but as a reminder, year groups and grade groups are not alike. So for example, grade 2, add 1, it's year 3. Okay. Now you can tell a proper British curriculum because they wouldn't use grade groups, because they don't apply to the British curriculum in any way. So always, I know it's confusing, and sometimes we just go, we wish we just call it grades like everybody else, but it takes away from the British curriculum because everything talks about year groups, so we don't really want to move away from that. So here, Key Stage 1 is when the children go into year 1, okay, which is KG2. So our official British curriculum starts in year 1. Before that, FS1 and FS2 is called early years. Early years foundation stage. Sometimes you hear it EYFS. Foundation stage 1, FS1, FS2. They are pre-Key Stage 1. Okay? Sometimes you might hear FS2 called reception year. In the UK, that's what we call it. We call it reception. Come in, we receive you, and we do some pre-work before you go into year 1. Okay. But here, Key Stage 1 is for year 5 to year 7-year-olds, and then year groups 1 and 2, and they do all of these subjects that are ticked here. All of them. We make sure they get a broad curriculum. Key stage 2 is years 3 to 6. These two together, key stage 1 and key stage 2, are what we call primary. Okay? So when you get to year 6, which is the same as grade 5, that's the end of primary, that's when they do their graduation, and move into key stage 3 and 4, which is called secondary. Okay? So that's how it works, year 7 to 9, and they're 11 to 14-year-old, they're in key stage 3 and key stage 4. Now it looks like they do less subjects in key stage 4, and that's because that's when they choose their options for IGCSE. Okay? So they don't do all of the subjects. We start to basically home in on subjects that they want to do more of. And then after that are the A-levels. So this is how the British curriculum is designed. It's very clear, and the whole of the standards that we follow are based on these year groups and what we have to teach at every year. It's a spiral curriculum. And what that means is what they learn in year 1, when they go into year 2, we review it and then take it a bit further. And in year 3, we review what we did in year 2 and then take it a bit further. So we never just teach anything once, but constantly reviewing and adding, reviewing and adding, reviewing and adding. Okay? So if your child has come in year 4, year 5, year 6, and you're worried that they've missed some things out, we will find them, we will catch up, and we will help them with that. Okay? Especially in EYFS and primary, we try to have subjects around themes so that it makes sense to them. So we connect what they're doing in all different subjects together so that they're not learning things in isolation. Okay? They're learning things together. This is very important. The shallow learning is what happens in a lot of other curriculum. That's when we're trying to get them to remember things. It's shallow. They do their examinations and forget it the next day. We work in the British curriculum in this area where they're mastering things and they're working at greater depth. Okay, they're not just remembering things. They're solving and applying, and they can explain their understanding to their friends, and they truly have a deep learning experience, not something that's surface that they'll forget. Okay? Because we do the conceptual ideas of how to understand things. We also, and I don't know if you've heard about this before, but we use Bloom's taxonomy. So when children are becoming secure in understanding something, we push them even further so that they eventually can create their own or can evaluate what they've done and talk to each other about it. So we're always getting them to think at a higher level, not just repeating the same question. Practice 100 of these. Write 1,000 of these. This is not how best to help them in a skills-based approach. So you might see pictures of your children at a market stall pretending to buy things, work out, change, do these kind of things. So it's a really applied curriculum. So they're not doing things without an understanding of why they need to learn this. We have lots of role plays. They love it. You'll see them working around the school. They're inquiring all the time. Real world examples of things. And working together in collaboration to find out and investigate things for themselves. So when you were at school, sitting like this, listening to the teacher all day, what your children are experiencing is very, very different. Can I have a quick show of hands? How many of you love being at school? Oh, thank you. That's amazing. How many of you loved being at school? You were very lucky. Anybody else who loved school? You loved school. That's amazing. You went to great schools. But overall, if I asked a community who went to school last generation, most of them will go, we hated it. We were just getting through it. Our parents pushed us really hard, and we had to study every night, and we actually really didn't enjoy it. We weren't allowed to talk. We just sat there copying from the board. It was awful. Now your children will not have anything like that as an experience. Okay? We welcome them to talk. We're listening to them. We're hoping that they will collaborate with each other. We work around their needs. How do they learn? Did they learn best by listening? Did they learn best by doing? We find out and we make it about them. Okay? So when we're learning about pollination, we actually plant. We have gardens. Each year group has a garden down the side. So we actually show them and grow and pollination and actually physically watch what happens instead of reading from a book. Okay. The third thing about the brilliance of the British curriculum is its well-defined key stages we've talked about, but it shows clear progress from one year to another. As I've talked about, we learn something, we move on, and review it and move on, and review it and move on a little bit. So all of these subjects have standards for each year that build from one year to another. So we can watch carefully the progress that children are making every day. We set them goals daily. This is where we'd like you to be. And they measure themselves whether they're hitting the goals. It's not a secret what we're doing with the children. We tell them what we want them to learn, and then they can decide, with the help of the teacher, have I learned this? What else do I need to do? I'm giving them the opportunity to come home and tell you what they've learned. However, we all know, and we know when we were at school, when you go home from school and you've been to 9 different lessons, and your parents say, "What did you do today?" And the children go, "I don't know. We just did stuff. I can't remember." Asking children what they learned is quite difficult for them because they've done so much in a day for them to recap 9 lessons to pass. So there's really special questions you can ask your children when you go home, when they get home. What was the funniest thing that happened to you today? What made you laugh? What one thing did you learn today that you remember really well and you were surprised about? But if you ask them the open question, what did you do today? And you did the same to your parents when you were at school, right? You get home, you just don't want to talk about it anymore. You've done it and you're excited that you've done it. But actually to remember it was really hard. So if they say, "I don't think I learned anything today," it's not true. Okay, they did. They're just really struggling to actually assimilate it all and give it to you. Okay? So the actual national curriculum looks like this. It's called the national curriculum in England. It's not even the UK, it's not the British. It's the national curriculum in England. Okay? But so that everybody understands it, we all talk about it as the British curriculum or the UK curriculum. But that's what it is, because inside this book, it gives you all of the standards that your children should learn for each year. Okay? So Cambridge is not a curriculum. Collins is not a curriculum. Pearson is not a curriculum. All they are publishers of resources that help deliver this curriculum. Okay? So if you go in and say, which curriculum do you follow? Is it Collins? Is it Cambridge? That's just the books that are used to help the children. A proper British curriculum school would never take a book, open at page 1, and go, "Today we're doing page 1, tomorrow we'll do page 2, the next day we'll do page 3, because that's not a skills-based curriculum. Okay? learning from books in this way is not what the British curriculum is all about. We do have books, and we use them, and you will see them, and they will help you understand how to help your children at home when they come home. Okay? But we don't do page 1, page 2. We start with the learning standards, and then we find some resources that will help the children understand it. Sometimes it's the books we have. Sometimes it's a different resource. Sometimes we'll go out and look at the flowers growing. We won't look at page 27 in the book. But when we send the books home to you, we'll say, look at page 27 so that you can recap to them. So we'll tell you which pages in the books you can look at to help them, but it doesn't necessarily mean we even use those resources in the classroom, because we might have done it a very different way based on the children's needs. Okay? So inside here is the Year 3 Programme of Study for Plants, just so you can see it. So this is where we start from. We take these and we decide which term we're going to teach them, and then we look for the best resources to help the children understand. Okay? Then we have a thing called Learning Ladders, which is where we share with you how well your children are doing. So we will share this information with you. You don't see it in this format. I'll show you what you see, okay, when we open it up to you. But every time we do one of these standards, I can describe the process of pollination. Every time we do that with your children, before we move on to the next standard, we make a judgment for each child how well they've understood and learned that standard. We don't wait for an examination. We've been watching them the whole time. We've been looking in their books, we've been marking in their books. We can make a judgment if a child is still beginning to understand how to describe the process of pollination, or developing their understanding. They're getting there, but they're not quite secure. So we decide at the end of each curriculum standard, they're beginning, they're developing, they're secure, or they've been working at a higher level and they're working at greater depth. Remember looking at the Bloom's taxonomy. Are they thinking? Are they analysing? Are they creating their own? Okay? So this is what we do. All day, every day. And then you will get access to this platform called Learning Ladders. You will be able to log on. And you have one log-on for all your children, so you don't have different log-ons for them if you have more than one children. Okay? You can go on, and you have one login for all of your children. You can access it via a URL. So we will give you the logon details. You go onto the website, you put in your username and password, and you can have access to it. Now, if you have different adults, grandparents, or you have somebody who's going to come in and do some additional support at home, we can give you other adults who have access to these accounts so that other people can see. But you have to tell us, because we don't want to just give access to anybody. It's your data for your child. But we can give you different access to grandparents or home tutors or something. So this is what you see for an EYFS. So EYFS, as you know, when they're very young, 3 and 4 years old, most of what we capture about their learning is photos and observations. Because they're not writing in sentences, we are catching them being able to do things. We'll take photos, upload them, and you'll be able to see. Okay? You'll be able to see that they met different standards. For example, they can hold a pencil correctly, or they can draw within lines. All of the things that need to happen before they go on to the writing of letters and so on. Okay, so you will get to see the observations you'll be able to click on. Okay? Very rarely do we give a lot of homework when they're really young, but that can be seen there too. Okay? For those in primary and secondary, it's slightly different. These are the learning goals. They're the standards that we've spoken about. That's how many we started. Okay, and In progress, here with this little hourglass, means that they're doing this, but they're not secure in that yet. So they're either beginning or developing. So you can see in here, they're still working on this. Let's do something with them at home. They need to do more on this, this, and this. I know what we're doing. I can help them. I can have a look at the books that they bring home at the weekend. I can have a look at the pages that the teacher has suggested I look at, and I can help them until they're secure. So you're working with us all the time. We're telling you where your children are, and we'd love you to work in partnership to get them where they need to be if they're struggling in anything. Okay? So that's how maybe we communicate about progress of children. So you can view the latest learning goals. These are the ones we're doing at the moment. You can see them on Learning Lens. But we also send home to you, as you're aware, the Parent Weekly Focus Letter. So the week before we do anything, we're always telling you what we're going to teach them and what they're going to learn next week. So we're giving you advance warning of what they're going to learn, and at the end of the week you can go on and see where they are. You can also have a look at them by subject. Once you go on this platform, just play with it and you'll see. It does translations. So here you can see, still working on it because it's got an hourglass. Here you can see tick. They're secure in that. Okay? So if it has an hourglass at the top, it means they're still working on it. If it has a tick here, it means they're okay. They've hit the standard. You don't need to spend a lot of time on that. You can consolidate the learning and work with them, but it means we're okay with that. So you can see how they're progressing. I'm watching things turn from an hourglass to a tick. I know they're okay. Alright? If you need some support and don't know what the standard means, underneath it you'll see there's articles. You can click on that and it will tell you what the curriculum standard means and how you can help with it. Okay? We do not, in primary, do formal examinations. Okay? It's not like when we were at school where you all sit there and we have to do examinations and get a percentage. That's not how the British curriculum is assessed. We do not put this pressure on them. They still need to have a childhood. I don't want them not to love learning. I want them to love doing this, love being at school, not putting pressure on them, celebrating when they win things. But we don't do that in primary. In secondary, we do. Secondary, we have to prepare them for their IGCSEs. They have to get used to the exam techniques that are necessary for them to pass their IGCSEs when they're all sat in a hall doing their examinations. The thing about the British curriculum is the examination process is incredibly rigorous. They're not all sitting in a class with teachers' help. They come into this hall and they sit at separate desks, and it's exceptionally rigorous. Okay? There can be nothing apart from a true reflection of the children's understanding. There's no help, there's no support given. They come in and that's it. So we have to prepare them in secondary for that. But in primary, that kind of pressure doesn't help the children. It puts them off learning. So, we also encourage growth outside of the classroom and outside of those subjects. Any of you who have met me before or listened to me, what I say is what happens. When I say this school is built on love, it is built on love. The only way we can work with your children and support them is if they feel safe, secure, loved and cared for, and that's what we do. But we also make sure they feel that way towards each other too. All day, every day, not only are we teaching your children math, English, science, humanities, all of the subjects, we're also teaching them how to be the very best version of themselves they can be. We teach them how to be kind, how to be courteous, how to be thoughtful, how to speak to each other. We're doing that all the time. So if you're ever worried about your child for any reason, whether it's a subject or something personal, please, work with us, come and tell us. We want to work with you to make sure that all of the children grow up to be the most amazing, well-rounded young adults that we possibly can. Okay? We need to work together on that. So if you worry about anything, please come and let the school know. Okay? We support the whole child. From the minute they walk in the door to the minute we bring them safely back into your hands at the end of the day. Okay? Everything we do is just supporting them to make sure that they get the best education with subjects and outside of those subjects as we possibly can. The best thing you can do, though, to support your children is to read with them. It's the best thing. So if you think we're not giving your children enough homework, because we never get it right, some parents want all the homework, and some parents want no homework. So we try to do in the middle and give them tasks to do. In primary, secondary is different. But if you want to support your child's learning, the best thing you can do is read with them. Because 98% of our families are neutered, not new, but English is at least their second language. So the best thing you can do is read to them and with them in English, because then their English improves and their access to understanding in every single subject improves as a result. Okay? Continue reading with your children even when they're in secondary. Sit with them, find somewhere nice, and talk and read. But it doesn't just mean reading words. Ask them questions about their level of comprehension. Because what you tend to find is that they can read, that they know what each word sounds like, but they put it all together and they don't really understand the comprehension of what they're reading. So ask them questions about what they're reading. Okay? It's the best thing you can do as parents. The way we communicate, and I spoke a little bit about this at the beginning, I'm always open. You can come and see me at any time. But the best person for you to speak to is the person that knows your child the best. Because all I will do is go to the homeroom teacher and say, the parents come in and ask me this question, can you give me the answer? And then I come back to you and say, this is the answer. And it takes longer than you going straight to the homeroom teacher. Okay? So the best thing for you to do, best way of communicating is via email. Okay? You have all the homeroom teachers' emails. Please use the email as the main method of communication between you and the teacher. Any teacher, not just the homeroom teacher. Okay? We send 2 weekly circulars home via email. You get one from Miss Reema and most of you, but did you get the one from yesterday? Have you checked?
Yes.
Yes? What Reema does is beautiful. She tries to capture what's happened around the school that week in photos and ideas and giving you some. It's beautiful. If you're going to read anything, please read that because it's uplifting. Okay, if you read her emails, it's amazing. Then one comes out every Sunday from the team. Please read it. It will tell you if there's an event coming up that you need to know about. It will tell you what's happening in school over the next couple of weeks. It will tell you term dates. It will tell you all kinds of things. So please look out for that email on a Sunday. Okay? Make sure you read it so that your child is prepared for what's coming up the next week. So if there's a dress-up day and you need to make them look like Superman or whatever, all of these things will come in through that email. So it's really important that you have a look at that email as it comes out. We also use Microsoft Teams to upload the parent meeting focus. So what we're going to teach your children next week will come to you the weekend before, usually Thursday, Friday. Comes to you, or it's uploaded onto Teams. You go onto Teams and you can see in the folders what we're teaching them next week. We don't want to send you 100 emails. What we want to do is just tell you things have been uploaded. You can go on over the weekend and find out what they're going to learn next week. Okay? If you don't know how to access Teams or you can't find the folders, just let us know, we'll take you through it. We'll send you a guide how to access so you can get everything there. We send home weekly plans, any home learning, some photos of the children that week. Okay, so over the weekend, just set some time aside just to have a look at that on Teams. If your child is going to be absent for anything, please send the reason absence at visitorschoolsharjah.ae. Okay? As soon as you possibly can. You are aware, sometimes because of there have been issues with the bus this week, there always are, first week back. We apologise for that, it will be better next week. But if you do not let us know why your child's not here, we get worried. And you obviously start receiving phone calls from us, because we want to know why they're not in school. Your children can only learn in school if they're in school. And we are becoming incredibly tight on making sure that your children are here as much as they can. Please do not travel anytime when the school's in session. Because if they're missing 9 lessons a day, can you imagine how much learning and gaps they'll have? So please, it's really important, unless they're really sick, please can you send them into school? Okay? We need to make sure that they're learning as much as they can. And you need to get your money's worth as well, okay? You pay for it. Make sure they come in, all right? We want them to be in as much as possible, because it helps us as a school as well, because then we don't have to go back and try to catch them up on things that they've missed, all of this thing, so it helps us too. If there's anything urgent, or anything last minute, we'll send you an SMS. So like you would have received an SMS about today, yesterday. Okay, last minute reminders, just make sure you remember. Or if there's any time that we go online learning, we'll contact you via SMS. Okay? And hope it won't happen this year, but ever since COVID, every year there seems to be a reason why we slip into online learning for a little while. Last year it was the flooding. I can't guarantee there won't be any online learning this year. But as soon as we do go online, if we do, we'll send you an SMS, and we do everything via Teams. Okay? You just log in, we'll send you details, and you log in through Teams, and we still do the lessons. Not as many. We certainly don't do 9 lessons online every day. That would be awful for the children, but we still do a good proportion of the teaching online if we have to. We don't like it. And we've learned from COVID the children don't like it and the parents don't like it, we know that. We much prefer to have you in face-to-face. There's nothing better than having the children in front of you and you feeling the energy of the children. Over the screen, it's not the same. Okay, so many schools around the world offer the British curriculum, and even in this country a lot of them offer the British curriculum. The way you know that the school will deliver the British curriculum the way I've described to you today is because you'll see that they have BSME accreditation. It's called British Schools Middle East. The government from the British school come over and check. Okay? We've been through it. We are a BSME school. We've been given that accreditation because of the way that we teach and because of who we are. Okay? It just is it's like a group for all of the schools who are teaching it properly and brilliantly. Okay? So always, wherever you go in the world, look for BSME accreditation, British Schools Middle East, or there will be an equivalent elsewhere when you're not in the Middle East. But always look for something from the UK that's been brought and they give it a tick. Yes, you're doing it correctly. Okay? We have to follow special guidelines to become part of this wonderful group of support for British schools. Okay? To check that what we're doing is up to date, transferable, so that you can move it, all the things that I've talked about. So looking at what the internet says about the British curriculum, please be confident that what we're doing with your children is a true, proper, brilliant British curriculum experience. Okay? It might be different than you're used to. It might take you a while for you to understand how we use textbooks. It might take you a while to understand why we assess the children as we go through rather than in exams. But bear with us. Okay? Bear with us, trust the process, and speak to parents that have been here for a number of years who will tell you, yeah, we were unsure, it seemed strange at the beginning, and now we're fully on board with it because we can see that our children love learning, and it makes a real difference to them. Right? You love it, don't you? See? We have it here. So you can see, this is the kind of thing that you will see pictures coming home that the children are doing to demonstrate that we're following what it means